First things first, okay? How badass were these two?
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
Bloody Sophie Aldred. She said she wanted to be an action hero. Oh my God. Take after take, running up those damn stairs with the Cybermen firing at us.
There were some Australian expletives used towards me.
That is true. The Myrka. The Myrka. I remember landing in the Myrka. No, truly. It was like 2 minutes to 10 o'clock, which is, in those days they used to pull the plug, literally, unless they'd been given an overrun. And they hadn't been given an overrun. And so they were going to pull the plug. And I fell over because the Myrka was like a pantomime horse. So it was two people inside the costume. And the Myrka fell over and it took me with it. And they painted it very recently, so I was green down one side of my body. And you can see me at the end of because we've got a minute to finish the scene. We've got a minute to finish the scene. Just get up and run. And I'm running side on, so that you can't see I'm green down one side of my body.
So we're standing around with Jodi and Mandip and Gemma and you and me, and we're setting up for the shot where we're kind of looking at the screen and we see the master and all that. And I suddenly looked round and I just said to everyone, hey, look at this. There are 5 women in this long scene. Three of us are over the age of 50. Yeah. And we're not talking about relationships or shopping.
Yes!
Give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
Yep. So it passed the Bechdel test.
Yeah, well, what happened with me was I was sitting at home minding my own business and my phone went and it was my agent and she said, Sophie, Andy Pryor, casting director of Doctor Who, has just been in touch, checking your availability. And we all know what that means. She said, and I was pretty much speechless, which is very difficult for me. And I finished the call and I burst into tears.
Aww.
And my husband said, what's the matter? And I said, it's Rebecca. Andy Pryor's just been on the phone to check my availability and we all know what that means. And then he took a photograph of me crying to send to our sons because he does that. And then I had a Zoom with Chris and Chris said, he said, would you do me the great honour of being in the centenary episode? I said, wild horses wouldn't stop me from being in that episode. And then he said, what sort of things do you think Ace would be doing now? And what would you like to do? And I said, well, I was cast in Doctor Who because I could ride a motorbike. So I suppose there's no chance of a late middle-aged woman in this day and age with health and safety riding a motorbike, is there? He said, I don't think so. So I was kind of like, and then he said, well, we can probably only do like a couple of scenes because we've got Dalek, Cyberman, we've got another companion. He didn't know yet, whether you were going to do it. We've got all these things to fit in, so I don't know how. And I ended up feeling just a little bit disappointed. But then when I went, and I thought, well, there's going to be 2 scenes is better than no scenes. And then I went down to for a costume fitting, and Ray Holman, the wonderful costume designer, I said, it's a shame I'm only going to be in a couple of scenes. He said, really? That's not the script I've seen. He said, what about the bit where you jump off the building and parachute down and the Cybermen are talking to you? And I thought, yes!
the scary thing was that COVID was on. And I thought, what happens if I get COVID? You know, they might get another companion. And they were sending people down to test you on a regular basis. And so you're like, you know, every
That was weird, wasn't it? Because it was in the days where they sent a car, and this poor guy, because he drove from you, he drove like hundreds of miles, well, at least 100 miles probably. To me. And then all he could do protect all the PPS stuff, and then they couldn't even come in for a cup of tea. So we stood on the doorstep, and he, you know, did that. Like that, and then off he went. And
well, and you found out right then it's not one of those you have to wait. It was a rapid test. You found out right then when they came.
No. It went off.
It was a PCR.
It was a proper PCR test. And there was one day when Jodi's driver tested positive, and Jodi wasn't on set for a couple of days.
Wow.
So it really
Mandip,
was.
I think.
Mandip had one as well. So it was, you know, you thought,
touch and go. And did you find it was quite strange because everybody apart from us and Gemma and the people who you were actually in the scene with, everybody was all wearing masks.
Yeah.
And so it was quite weird because I got to know my makeup person, India, really well from her eyes and her hair.
Yeah.
And then when we had a wrap party, didn't we?
Yep.
And we finally got to see everybody without and your brain does this weird thing where if you can't see this bit, you kind of make it up. And so India came up to me and said, oh, hello, Sophie. It's nice to... And I was like, who are you? Because I hadn't figured that she'd look like that. And Jamie as well, the director.
Yeah.
Suddenly he took his mask down like that. Oh my God, he's got a moustache. Hadn't imagined that.
I went to that rap party dressed as John Nathan Turner.
Well done.
And I went and got a curly wig and a beard, and I borrowed an Hawaiian shirt from wardrobe.
You went to a joke shop, didn't you?
Yeah. And do you know, there were so many people under the age of 40 who knew who I was, and I couldn't believe it, that they knew that I was John Nathan Turner.
All the way there, she was going, nobody's going to know who I am.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've worn this. Nobody's going to know. Oh, you know. All that. And then as soon as she got there, everyone was like, oh, that's brilliant. Well, it was just wonderful, wasn't it? Because she came bounding onto the set.
Yeah.
And she just like flung her arms around us, and it was as though we'd known her all our lives.
Well, I'm the first scene where she walks towards us and we get introduced, and I fluffed the line, and I might have used an expletive.
Surely not, Janet.
Did it?
I might have done. And she said, oh, I think I'm going to like you.
We did it twice. So we did it, the first bit we did was in the cave, in these beautiful caves. What are they called, John, in Wales, the caves? Yes, there's a lot of L's and spitting. Yeah.
That's a general description of Welsh, actually.
Yeah.
It's quite a tricky language to get your tongue around.
Yes, but it's these amazing caves in beautiful part of Wales, and we arrived there, and then I did some of the Dalek stuff, and then we did this bit, and Jamie said, "Oh, I found you a nice place to do your lines for the scene." It's up there. And it's like, oh, okay. So, it's mountaineering now, is it? Climbing up to these. And there was just, it was really nice, actually, because there was just me and Mark, the cameraman, and there was a lighting guy up there. And then I'd said, would you mind, Jamie, if Barnaby Edwards reads in the lines? Because Barnaby had been in the Dalek. And I thought, well, he's a really good actor. and he could give me the performance that I kind of needed in a way, rather than this, bless him, lovely first assistant director who'd go, "Oh, Ace, what if it did?" You know, this sort of Welsh. It didn't quite do the same trick. So he said, "Yeah, of course." So Barnaby was sort of perched on a rock quite nearby, so I could hear him, and the camera was about that far from my face, and it just felt completely right like that. It was great. And we did it a few times. Hi.
Oh, hi, Bill.
Hello. Jamie was really happy with it, and Barnaby thoroughly enjoyed being Sylvester. And then I can't remember how many days later, or maybe a week or so later, Sylvester was due to go down to the studio and do his lines on green screen. And they said, "Would you come down and read the lines in?" Because it was the night, I think it was the day of the party, wasn't it? So I was coming down anyway. And so, yes, I went down, and it was just fantastic, because there was Sylvester standing just opposite me in his costume. And it was freezing in the studio. I was in my coat and my hat, but he was there, and we both were just like, "Oh, this is amazing to be doing this together on screen." And then I found out later from Chris Chibnall, who sent me some photographs of that. He said that not only he was standing watching the monitor, but loads of people had come to watch us together, and there was some tears shed apparently.
So bear in mind, top secret, we were being taken onto location in dryers. You know those dry robe things with the big hoods, holding umbrellas over us.
You had your sunglasses on. She looked like a little character from South Park.
Yeah, I did. And, a top secret, the doctors, when they came down, the night before they did this stuff, they had all gone out to dinner together in Cardiff. Oh, all the doctors are in Cardiff. What could that mean?
It was so unfair, because we'd been slinking around Cardiff.
We had normally, if you're on location, you'd go out to dinner or you'd get together in the evening. We'd done none of that. We were wearing our masks, going to Marks and Spencer's, buying ready-cooked meals and putting them, all of that. Oh.
We did go for a walk in the park.
We did, Butte Park.
That was nice.
Yeah.
It's like they let you out.
In our masks.
Yes, well, that day that we did the scene with him, where we're on the stairs, we were just watching him with our mouths open, like, oh my God, because he
was so wonderful.
Something a bit different on every take.
Yeah,
He'd do the rehearsal, and then, but not. Some people do that, like if they're a method actor, they do some kind of, you go, "Oh, well, now I'm going to have to do my performance completely differently. Thank you very much," but he just altered it ever so slightly to give the director something else to play with, and it was like watching a, pun intended, masterclass in acting.
And I have to say, when he does that rah Rasputin, fabulous.
So I didn't even tell my sons. One of them said, sort of end of September, when I'd gone to Cardiff quite a lot, or beginning of October, he said, "Mum, you're going to Cardiff quite a lot. I wonder what they film in Cardiff." And I wouldn't have minded if he'd known. I was kind of really and I said, "Do you want to know?" And he said, No, don't tell me. And then the other one, one day, he rang me at some point and he said, "Mum, why is your Ace jacket missing from the cupboard?" And I said, which is not a lie, I said, "Oh, I've lent it to somebody for a while." which was true. Because it was there. It was in Ray Holman's wardrobe in Cardiff. So there we go. And also another thing was fans were getting quite close as well at conventions, and saying things like, "Are you in the 60th?" And it was great because I could say, "No, I wish I was." There was one scene I did which was not in the final.
Was it?
Do tell.
Yeah. I was chucking Nitro 999 at a Dalek.
Why did they lose that?
But I don't know what they might have. I actually nearly brained one of the crew members with a can of Nitro 999. Oops. Because I chucked it like this and it went right over the camera, right into the crew. And so they said, "Duck!"
I got some really good advice from Peter Davison because, I've always hated watching myself. And Peter said, you have to watch it at least twice because the first time all you see is you and you are always hypercritical. But the second time you watch it, you watch the whole thing. And he was right. And so it was really sweet, actually, because I phoned Chris Chibnall and I said, I can't see it for the first time sitting in a preview with all the press and everything. That would be horrendous. And he arranged for us to get a copy, to be able to see it before we had to see it in the preview. And I watched it twice, and then. So when we were in the cinema, it was, you got over it.
The funny thing about that was it had our our names watermarked. So some shots were like, what? I could just see Sophie Aldred. That scene was amazing because we all turned up at the. We were in Roath Lock being made up and costumes and stuff. And it was quite a warm day and we were hanging around for ages. And Bonnie had come down the night before and we caught up and had a good chat. And then Katie was there waving a carrot cake around, I seem to remember. We were all sitting around on the steps of our trailers and stuff, just chatting.
Yeah.
And I'd seen William Russell in the bar the night before with his daughter. And bless him, he couldn't really remember what he was there for. It was. And
he struggled with those lines, and she was really good with him. She really was. Yeah. So that was very poignant. It was John
Bishop who was brilliant with him.
Yes, he was.
Because John Bishop was sitting next to him, and he realised. Well, they brought William a cup of tea, and he spilt it on his trousers, and then he said. Sorry for the mess, and he couldn't quite get that out of his head, could he? But then John was great because he turned to him and he just very, very quietly said, say after me, and he got him to say the lines. It was really, really moving. But then it was great because when we, there was dry ice everywhere in the room as well. And then it was like one of those things that I kept thinking, am I dreaming this or is this real? It really was like a strange dream sequence.
This is Mick Wingert, and you're watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to have fun and follow your fandom.